Good afternoon. My name is Celeste Reynolds, and I am a teacher at Mashpee High School in Mashpee, Massachusetts. And I'm lucky enough that I live close enough, and I have three amazing students to come and speak about their experience as well. I have Hayden to my left, and I have Hamna to my right, and Aisha over here as well, standing next to Hamna. And they're going to chime in a little bit. Today, I wanted to talk about something about introducing open street mapping to teachers and into the classroom. This is a project I've been working on for many, many years, and there's always, teachers have a lot on their plate, and they're saying, oh, another software. It's one of those things where you walk into the door and your IT department says you need to learn how to redo your grades, this, that, and it can be very overwhelming. The other thing, too, is open street mapping. I teach AP Human Geography, and that's kind of where that has mostly been centered towards. But some teachers saying, how is this related to the curriculum? And I think that that's kind of really interesting, because if you're going to be using it in the classroom, it needs to be kind of tied to it. What are the students going to learn? And I always say, well, you're going to teach them content and skills and show them how to do that. And then the other thing is, well, I start with my new mappers. I'm just learning this technology, and how do I make sure that they're not doing poor edits? And this is a huge concern, I understand. However, they're our future, and so we've got to give them an opportunity to develop those skills so that when they start going into college and their career paths, that they are introduced to OSM, they know what OSM is, and then they can start contributing to it with ideas that maybe some of us in this room have never thought about. And then giving the teachers confidence of monitoring their students and kind of saying, oh my gosh, if they do a bad edit, someone got on, and they get all worked up, trying to give them a safe place to let your students learn and let the teacher get more comfortable with it as well. And so this was something we kind of noticed, and I'm very excited that OSM Sandbox has come out. And this kind of, today what we talked about is creating lesson plans for teachers that are teaching using the OSM Sandbox, where the students can have a safe place to map. They can learn how to map buildings, or they can learn how to map roads. And this makes it a safe place, and the teacher can use it. But we also wanted to link it to the curriculum. So we have the skill of how to map, and then you have the other thing of how does this connect to my curriculum, and helping teachers do that. And so you get the ideas rolling, because a lot of times teachers are like, oh, like for example, when I was first introduced to it, that's interesting. I'm not sure how I would use this, and I had to let that marinate for a couple of years until I was fortunate to see a presentation and the light went off. So how do we help get teachers to feel comfortable to implement it? So I worked with my students, and I said, hey guys, this really cool thing came out, and I want to make a lesson plan. And they were also working on a project as well. And this is something that I feel like is really important. This is just kind of something I was thinking about. If we created a lesson plan and it has content kind of talk about the why of mapping, but also shows the how of mapping in the OSM Sandbox. So the students helped me with the why of mapping. So they're going to talk a little bit about what they learned through interviews and articles and research that they had to do. And I came up with the how of mapping through resources through Teach OSM, and we kind of blended those things together so that we can start introducing these to teachers so that they get more comfortable with practice over and over without feeling like they are causing any harm or putting bad edits into the live map. So, and with that, hopefully they get more comfortable, and then eventually they'll be excited and more willing to try to start a Teen Maptivist chapter at their school, which we're trying to help that we have at our school. So I will turn it over to Hamna, and she's going to talk a little bit about why we chose the topic Mapping Rural America.
Hi, Hi everyone, my name is Hamna, and today I'll be talking about the importance of mapping, especially in rural America. So many rural communities across the United States tend to not be mapped to their full potential, and that causes issues like obtaining emergency services and getting resources like food and healthcare. And some key factors, oh, some key factors of why mapping is so important is resiliency mapping. So when natural disasters occur like floods, wildfires, and tornadoes, it makes it hard for emergency services to help out these communities because they don't know what buildings are, where buildings are, and how many people are within those communities. And another reason could be food security. Most rural areas tend to be affected by food deserts. So that's basically where an area doesn't have grocery stores or food pantries or just healthy food in general. And if we map these areas, it allows organizations to know where to place their new buildings and where to deliver services. And access to healthcare. So many families in rural America tend to live hours away from their nearest medical facility. And if we map these areas, it allows the government and nonprofit organizations to know where to put their next medical building. And it also allows families to know where their nearest medical facility is.
So hi, I'm Hayden, and so for this project, I created a story map, which you can find right there at that QR code. And so we kind of focused on a town named Carthage, Illinois, and so in that town, it has a population of about 2,500, so it's pretty small, but it's not the smallest, but it sits as the hub for Hancock County in Illinois, so it kind of provides services all across the county and not just the town itself. So it has a hospital, it has a food pantry, a grocery store, a pharmacy, health clinic, so it has a lot of services that it's able to provide. And so it's really essential that we map it because if a tornado were to come, which is very common in a place like Illinois, it sits in Tornado Valley. And so if that were to happen, it'd be devastating for not just the people of Carthage, but also people across Hancock County. So if we can focus on this and not just Carthage, but also other rural communities, it'd be important to map them so then people can continue to get the services they need and live a healthy life.
Thank you, Hamna. Thank you, Hayden. So with that, kind of taking that context and putting that inside the OSM project that we created, Mapping Carthage, Illinois, students can go in, work on just buildings and learning how to become familiar with getting on Tasking Manager, mapping a building, squaring it off, saving it, giving it the attribute building, and then when they save it, giving it the hashtag. And I know that some of you are saying, they're going, oh, that's really simple, but when you're teaching students, this is new, repetition and trying to get that, it takes a while, and trying to give them that opportunity to do that. And also closing out a mapping task, the proper way of doing it instead of just shutting their computer going, bink, I'm done, and then leaving that mapping task not released. So this is kind of helping in giving those beginner mistakes where it's not having an impact on the map. I want to leave off with Aisha. Aisha's been with me for 2 years. She's just graduated, and she's going to be going off to UPenn for college. But Aisha was in my AP Human Geography class last year, and she's also been helping get Teen Maptivists going at our school. And I just wanted to have her talk a little bit about how this is using OSM in the classroom and also using it in Teen Maptivists has been meaningful because she's been very outspoken and a huge advocate for it.
Yeah, so when looking into the importance of introducing OSM to students, obviously there's meaningful learning. There are different variety of topics that are taught, and obviously when we have a Teen Maptivist meeting, we do go with their monthly modules. The monthly module that I usually focus on is definitely on food security and making sure that we're, understanding that there are people that are out there that don't have access to adequate food supplies or just basic needs in general. And this is obviously and ties to human geography. This is where I kind of got into getting into mapping, what is Teen Maptivist, and how I can be a part of it and make change in my community just by sitting at a desk. And then with building a network of future mappers, so I think it was 2022 when I started to talk to Mrs. Reynolds about how I can make a change in her current events class. So this is before AP Human Geography. And she started talking about team activists and what OSM was. That obviously struck out to me because like as Ms. Reynolds said before, I am an advocate and I obviously want to give back to my community as much as I possibly can. So that is how I got into it. And then once I got into it, I started recruiting all my friends. And currently, I think we have 40 to 60 members within Team Activists at the Mashpee chapter. And then within there, we have a leadership opportunity that is offered. So we have president, vice president, treasurer, and then we do have a secretary. And then on top of that, we do have people that are helping other students within the room while we're doing mapping sessions. I am currently a vice president and obviously gives me the opportunity to come to wonderful events such as today. And then there is an increased spatial literacy and GIS skills that are acquired from being a team activist. Obviously, within human geography, you learn a lot about maps. As well as said before, maps are really important with understanding right now, our current lives, and also the past. So with looking into all these different maps, we get to learn more about how we can see things and then map them accordingly in helping our community. And then connections to career pathways and mentors. Within Team Activists, we've had a project every single year. So this year was Carthage, Illinois. However, when I did it, when I was in human geography, we did food insecurity or security within our communities. And we got to reach out to people from all around the world. We got to talk to people our professor from McAllister, and he became someone who was kind of a mentor to us as a class in understanding the importance of geography in general. And that obviously helps us with understanding career pathways because then we get to see hands-on what a professor does and where we would probably want to go to school. And honestly, Team Activists has been so inspiring and so encouraging to just see so many people in a room just there for the same cause, helping their community. And I feel like it's a great opportunity for teachers to see that students are there to make change and obviously get involved in their communities as well.
And this is, I wanted to showcase them because I think a lot of times we don't hear from students, but this is what it's all about, hearing from students like these three and how they have learned a great deal, but it's taking the why of mapping and the how of mapping and bringing those together and making it in a safe space for all teachers to introduce it to all students. Thank you, and if you have any questions, let me know.
Do you want to mention the paper?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. So I have a few copies. There is a scan on the PowerPoint of the lesson plan as well as the story map. And I also have some printed copies of the lesson plan if anybody would like a few. Thank you.